A lot of news to cover in today's video. Could Ben Johnson have taken a shot at Jared Goff? Some Lions players respond to Ben Johnson speaking. Our general manager speaks, going to dissect what he talks about in regards to trade in the NFL draft. This is a lot to get into. This is going to be a fun video. Let's go. If you're a fan of us talking, this video is for you because the NFL Combine is going on and Ben Johnson spoke to the media, and it does sound like he took a shot at Jared Goff. Let's go ahead and dissect what he said. Ben Johnson, he says, the out of the structure, the off schedule, the creation, that's what hands the most because it's really the way this league is going right now, it seems like Johnson said. As much as you want to make it pure progression, 1 to 2 to 3, there's just too much variety. And the pass rush is coming down, and have to an athlete of Caleb extend the play and potentially find an explosive down the field. That's what gets me going a little bit. I get excited thinking about it because I haven't really been around that since I've been in the league. But I've been on the other side, and I have experienced it. And it's demoralizing when you're on the other side and you're watching that happen to your defense. My, oh my. Little shots taken at the offense, a little bit shots taken at the defense as well, saying it can't be stopped. Now, before I jump into really dissecting this, because I don't even want to put my opinion on it, so I do this question for you. Do you think that Ben Johnson took a shot at the Lions? An ad may take place. If it does, why for yes and for no? Let's get into this right now. So after reading this, I kind of take a couple things from it. First off, he's not incorrect by saying that is the way that the league is going. Matter of fact, I love mobile quarterbacks, dual threat quarterbacks. I do think they bring an extra level to the game that is hard to replicate. So in his statement right there, 110%, right? Having a different dimension, there's nothing wrong with that adding to the game. That is the way that it's going right there, and he's not upset about that. With that said, it doesn't mean that's the way of the quarterback. Everyone is a little bit different, and every player is a little bit different. And just because, Caleb Williams has these attributes doesn't mean he's going to come out here and be the all-world quarterback. Yes, he is a mobile dual-threat quarterback. Jared Goff is not a dual-threat quarterback. But you want to know what Jared Goff is? He's really good at reading defenses. Caleb Williams, he has not proven that he can do that yet. Jared Goff has proven he can win games. Caleb Williams has not proven he can do that. He has won playoff games. He's command of his offense. Remember, the Ben Johnson offense was very difficult to understand. Jared Goff completely mastered it because his IQ is really high. So in essence, he's not incorrect. But to say, I get excited thinking I've barely been around that in the league, but I have been on the other side, and I've experienced it. It's demoralizing on the other side. We were watching it happen to your defense. So he's saying that, Jared Goff is good, but there's a limit to him. And what this offense did last year, okay, if that's Jared Goff's limit, that's MVP candidate, okay? And the saying that the defenses can't, I've been on the other side and watching it happen to your defense can stop it. That's a shot at Aaron Glenn. And Aaron Glenn's response was funny. He said that Ben Johnson had help with coaches and Tanner Ingstead. There's a little bit, it seems like when I look at Ben Johnson, and this is me from afar, and I look at Aaron Glenn, and I look at Dan Campbell, and I look at the head coach materials, I like more of the humble guy. I'm an individual that's humble, and it seems like Ben Johnson is a little bit arrogant. I look at Aaron Glenn, and I see him being more humble, more of the Dan Campbell type of guy, less arrogant. And yes, Ben Johnson's offense has been great. Does it mean he's going to be successful? Does it mean that Caleb Williams is going to come out here and be an all-pro? No. Aaron Glenn defensively, yes, he had problems. Does it mean he's going to be a failure as a head coach? No, because he is correct. We had all the injuries on the defense, right? And I'm not, that's 100% factual, right? He had, most of the talent was on the offense throughout the years. So Ben Johnson, and Jared Goff talked about it because they asked Jared Goff, how going out there, and he kind of laughs like, we still got the talent in the team. Like, what is this idea that this offense is just going to completely fall off a cliff because Ben Johnson leave? I think that's an arrogant approach. I don't know how well Ben Johnson's going to come off. I don't know how he's going to be a great of a head coach. But I know he made players mad. And Kirby Joseph is not a fan of what just took place. Goff catching strays on the day off. Shaking my head. That's from Speakeasy. J. Curb. J. Curb with skulls. Replying to it. And then Meek Robertson. Yeah, feel me. So the Detroit Lions players have taken this as a slap in the face to Jared Goff and to this defense. And rightfully so. It's hard to believe that Johnson intended to insult Goff and the Lions defense in these comments. The damage appears to have done. The Lions defense is going to have some extra motivation when they face off against the Bears offense twice next week. Did Ben Johnson diss the Lions offense? Again, an ad might take place. Let me know. This is what they call Ben Johnson on the Huge Show. He calls him Benedict Johnson. That's his name. Benedict Johnson. If you know Benedict Arnold, then you know what that means, being the traitor. I took it, yes, there was maybe a little bit of slight, but I got to keep it a buck. I didn't take it that much as a slap in the face. I think he's just a little bit more energetic about his own quarterback and his own team, but I do think he's an arrogant human being, and that's something that I'm not a fan of, and I don't know how well that's going to place out. Could it be a Josh McDaniels type of situation where he was a good OC, terrible head coach? I don't know. But I take it as a little bit of slight, but not too much. Now, Brad Holmes spoke to the media, and he finally talked about the trade. Everyone wants this big, gigantic trade. And he says it's unlikely. Like I've been saying, unlikely. This is what he said about a giant trade. This would be a Myles Garrett, Trey Henderson, or a Max Crosby trade. Say, it's hard. There's not a lot of those guys available, Holmes said. And so just because we lost our pass rusher due to injury, that doesn't mean that our team is going to say, hey, we have to have a star pass rusher. I know that we lost one, but we have to have one. Would you like to have one? No. That's not a star pass rush for that team. They're trying to win games, so that's just not trade deadline. It's not free agency. During the year, those guys are hard to find, and that's why it's called a premium position. Those guys are hard to acquire, and it's hard to keep them financially. Again, we have one of those due for an extension. We already kind of got in the planning stages about him already, so when you talk about adding another one, it's like, well, all right, can you financially add another one because you want to add another one on top of everything else you don't have? That makes it tough. That's what we have been saying for a long time. It's tough to add one, not just financially, but it's tough to add one because, yes, there's a financial stipulation, but you gotta trade the person. You gotta give those draft assets. You gotta pay the player, and then the other team has got to allow the trade to occur and accept the trade. So the Lions, they say, we're going to give you 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick for Myles Garrett. The Browns can say, no, we're not doing that. Thus, the trade doesn't happen. I've been saying it. At the NFL trade deadline, they tried to make a trade happen. They did. They called no teams budges, or they just asked way too much astronomically. That's why it's always low, and especially for a Myles Garrett. Now, I always say, if he were to get traded, it would be potentially, the Lions could be one of those teams, right? If he were to get traded, if Cleveland were actually to do it and it was feasible, because they have to allow it. They're not budging. They don't want to lose a 29-year-old star pass rusher. What team does, right? They don't want to lose these guys. So it's hard to do. I would love it, man. I'd love to have Myles Garrett in this team. It's going to be hard to do. And there's a nugget in there. He said that the Lions were prepping to pay Aidan Hutchinson. The Detroit Lions are prepping to extend contract for star edge rusher Aidan Hutchinson as part of their strategy for the team's future. After experiencing a severe injury last season, Hutchinson expects to return fully in 2025. Lions general Brad Holm announced the plans of Hutchinson's extension at the NFL Scouting Combine as the team aims to keep the players despite the recent coaching changes. With the Lions focused on stability, they're not expected to sign additional high-profile pass rushers given the budget constraints. And that's another reason why they're not going to do it. And this brings us to Aidan Hutchinson. I love that they're doing this right now. You say, why, Mike? They have time. Why would you extend Aidan Hutchinson now? My words back to you. Why not do it right now? We have now seen if you do not extend a player early in an offseason when a year before, that player is going to get astronomical pay the following year. Or if you're not the first one, you could pay a same level of player, but way more. Look what we did last offseason. We paid Goff, St. Brown, Aleem McNeil, Taylor Decker. We paid these guys early than other teams had to extend their players, and it was more. Yes, get it done earlier the better, in my opinion. Earlier the better. And it's okay, right? The Lions are probably going the draft to get their pass rusher, and they'll probably get a lower free agent, but it's okay to pay Aidan Hutchinson. That is something that we got to do, and this team understands. You know, they tried, right, in the trade deadline. They understand the importance of locking down players right now, and I think it's brilliant, man. I think it's brilliant. Look, I want Myles Garrett for sure. Like, that's separate, but extending Aidan Hutchinson earlier is brilliant, and it's a smart move, and I approve this message. So get it done. Folks, drop comments in the comments. I want to know your thoughts. Adios.